Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lois, a speech student at Oklahoma State University, and today I will be presenting a persuasive speech on domestic violence. What is domestic violence? Domestic violence is all acts of physical, sexual, emotional, and financial violence that may be impacted on a victim by a perpetrator, and in most cases, the perpetrator is an intimate partner or a family member. Okay, so did you know that one in three women and one in four men is exposed to physical violence at least once in their lifetime? Did you know that women between the ages of 18 and 24 are the most victims of domestic violence? And did you know that one in every 15 children is exposed to violence and 90% of these children are eyewitnesses to the violence? Did you also know that every 20 minutes in the United States, a woman or a man is abused somewhere? And this number adds up to 10 million people abused in 1 year. That's a huge number, right? So, my goal here today is to persuade you that it is very important to report domestic violence to the necessary authorities. Um, we need to know that domestic violence is usually impacted by one partner, and this one partner sets control over the other partner. Most children are victims of domestic violence by being exposed to the violence, and also, most of the time, a child is present, and this could hinder a child's ability to develop, and this could also teach the child to be violent in the future. And that's something we need to know. Okay, so according to the Office for Prevention of Violence in the New York Domestic Violence Office, physical abuse does not only entail physical abuse, it entails all acts of emotional, financial, and sexual violence that is impacted on a victim by a perpetrator. So today in this discussion, I will be using a drawing, which is a pie chart. I'll be using these colored charts here. I hope they're all visible for you. And I'll be issuing these handouts to the rest of the class so that we are able to all interact and understand this topic. And these handouts that I'm issuing, they all have all these points summarized so that we may all flow together as we continue with this discussion. So I'm going to be passing these handouts to everybody. Okay, so let us look at this drawing. The huge part, green part, is women. This is a presentation of the number of women that are exposed to domestic violence, and this is the number of men, the portion of men that are exposed to domestic violence. And this is according to National Violence Against Women Survey in 1998, according to the New York Times. So we're going to be looking at the risk factors for domestic violence. What causes domestic violence and what is the contributor of domestic violence? So according to the Joyful Heart Foundation by Mariska Hargitay, one of the risk factors of domestic violence is low income levels when you're financially dependent on someone, low academic qualifications, not being able to comprehend and understand what is going on in the society, involvement with alcohol and drugs. This could be a cause for domestic violence because someone is not acting in a sober way, using their sober minds. Low IQ deficits. This could contribute to domestic violence because if a perpetrator knows that you do not understand what is going on in the society currently, you could be a victim of domestic violence because of that. They could take advantage of you. And low self-esteem, not being bold, not being able to express yourself, could make you a victim of domestic violence. What are the effects of domestic violence? So we're going to look at the effects of domestic violence, and this is according to Centers for Disease Control and Violence Prevention. One of the reasons is one of the effects is emotional stress, because of being exposed to violence frequently. Sleeping disturbances, because fearful, you're scared because of what you face every day. Psychological disorders like post traumatic stress disorder, bipolar disorder, all these could be effects of domestic violence from facing too much violence every day. Another effect could be suicidal thoughts because of what someone is facing every day. They end up getting depression and they think of suicide as the ultimate option. We're going to be looking at the exit plan and the safety of the victim. So, we're going to start with the safety. Safety is very important because even if you assist a victim of domestic violence and you do not mind and worry about their safety, you're probably not helping them because even if they exit and they're not safe where they're going, they'll still end up being victims of domestic violence out there. So, one of the ways to ensure safety, you could encourage them to get a protective order from the authorities against their perpetrator. Looking for a counselor because this is very important. This is part of safety because if the victim of domestic violence is facing psychological disorders and suicidal thoughts, and they don't have anybody to talk to when they go out there and they're by themselves, they could end up killing themselves. So getting them a counselor, someone they could talk to anytime, is very important, and also reporting to authorities every time they face violence. And last but not least, we're going to be looking at an exit plan. So, in this exit plan, this is just like a reverse of our risk factors. And looking at it, you will see that looking for employment. Looking for employment so that you're financially independent when you go out there by yourself is very important. High self-esteem is very important. Looking for shelter, a place to live, is very important because if you go out there and get stranded, you might end up going back to the perpetrator's house. So that is very important. And lastly, looking for support groups. These are people who have faced the same thing as the victim, and these are people who could be able to relate well with what is going on with the victim and be able to help themselves when they're about to do something or harm themselves when they're overwhelmed by a situation. So, domestic violence can happen to anyone, regardless of the race, regardless of the tribe, regardless of everything. It could happen to anyone. So most importantly is to be able to identify the early identifications of domestic violence, risk factors, so that you can be able to help a victim. As we come to the end of our discussion today, I hope that you have all learned ways of assisting a victim of domestic violence, helping them not to be victims of domestic violence, and helping them to exit an abusive relationship. I hope everyone has learned something today, and I thank you for being my guest, and have a great day. Thank you.